Today I'm going to show you how to make a super simple car spawner so that whenever we actually stand on a part, this car's going to spawn and we'll be able to drive it. Okay, so first of all, we actually need our cars, or something that we're going to spawn in. This doesn't actually have to be a car. This can work with absolutely any model that you want to put in your workspace. So for this, I'm just going to use a car because it's simple. I found this on the toolbox. Just search up car. It's the first one here. You can use obviously anything that you might have created or whatever you're doing, but just make sure you have something that you know you want to spawn in. Okay, so let's get started. All we're actually going to need first is our part that we want to step on to spawn our car. So I'm just going to quickly create a part here. I'm going to anchor it. I'm just going to make it sort of a little bit smaller like that. We're going to make it a different color. And then make sure can collide and can touch is on. And then we can actually begin with setting up our scene. So you've kind of got to imagine, where do you want your car to spawn whenever we step on this? So what we're going to do is we're going to simply just move our car around in the workspace. And I kind of want it to spawn about there. I think that would work nicely. And what's going to happen is we're going to drag this into our replicated storage, and it's going to actually remember where it spawns. So we can see, if we drag it into replicated storage, you can see it's still kind of there. Like, we can see where the toolbars are and stuff. And if we actually drag it back out into the workspace, you can see it comes back to the same spot. So this is where it's actually going to spawn when we clone it from the replicated storage into the workspace. So once you've actually got your car in the position that you want to spawn it, make sure just to drag it into your replicated storage. And I always like to ensure that it's named something simple like car. It could be literally anything you want. Let's get started. So we're actually just going to be creating this script in our part. So let's quickly just press the white plus, add a script. I'm going to call this car spawner script, and then just delete your default text. Now this is going to be a super simple script. This really isn't going to take a lot. It's about 17, 18 lines, I think. So we're just going to go through it pretty quickly. So first of all, we need our part. We're going to say local part equals script.parent. Then we actually need to get our car, the thing that we're going to spawn in. So we're going to say local car equals game colon get service replicated storage colon wait for child car. And so what we're actually doing here is we're getting replicated storage through the get service function, and we're waiting for it to load before we actually continue with the rest of our script. Now we actually need to make two variables. We need isCooldown and cooldown, and I'll quickly explain what they are after I've made them. So we're going to say local isCooldown equals false, and local cooldown equals 10. Now this can be whatever number you want. This is going to be in seconds. So how many seconds do you want between the time that we can actually spawn the car? So from the first time that we press it, it will wait 10 seconds, and then we'll be able to spawn it again. And isCooldown here is simply a little failsafe that will pretty much let us just check if the actual cooldown is active, and if it's not active, then we're going to spawn the car. Okay, so let's move on. So we actually need to detect when the part is touched. So it's going to be super simple. We're just going to say part.touched colon connect function. And then in our brackets here, we're going to type hit because we want to see what has actually hit our part. And then we actually need to get our player, or the player that has actually touched our part. So we're going to say local player equals game.players colon get player from character hit.parent. Now you may be wondering, how does this even get the player? So what we're saying here is we're saying game.player, so we're accessing our player directory, and we're saying get player from character. So the character, you've got to imagine, is actually in your workspace, and the player is in your players tab. So you actually have the tangible player, which is the player in your workspace, and you have the non-tangible player, which is in your player. So we can't actually do anything with the player object. That's just sort of the data that tells us that they're there. But the character is what we're looking for, because that contains all their body parts, their humanoid, etc., etc. And you'll see this quite a lot whenever we're actually getting a character from a player with this function. Essentially, all it's actually doing is we're looking at what has hit this. So it could be their right leg, it could be their arm, it could be their head. And then we're saying dot parent, so we're getting the root of that body part, which will always be our player. Okay, so now we actually need to check if the player has touched it, because we don't want this event to fire if, like a base plate has touched it, or a tree has touched it, or bullet has touched it, for example. We just want to know if a player has stood on it, then we're going to spawn it. So we're just going to say if player then, so that's just checking, okay, is it the player? Yeah, okay, well then we're going to check if not is cooldown then, which basically means if is cooldown is equal to false, which it is, then we're going to say is cooldown equals true. So all we're doing is just flipping the actual variable. So now it equals true, so that this can't fire more than once. And then we actually need to get our car. So we're going to use the clone method. And I've gone through this in my last tutorial and it was actually really easy to use. So we're just going to say local new car equals car colon clone. So already we've basically duplicated our car and stored it in the variable new car. But now we actually need to put it in our workspace, because if we were to just clone it, it would only appear in our replicated storage and not move anywhere else. So we're going to move down a line and we're just going to say new car.parent equals workspace. So now that actually would work, but we actually need a way for our cooldown to wait the amount that we want it to, and then set is cooldown back to false so that this function can run again. So we're going to go down another line and we're just going to say wait cooldown, so it's going to wait 10 seconds or however long you've inputted, and then is cooldown equals false. And there you have it. That is our finished script entirely. I told you it'd be 17 or 18 lines. We're just going to go back, we're going to test it. So now if I go into our game, and then if I actually stand on our little red part, you can see that our car actually spawns, and we can drive it, we can do whatever we want. And this can be used to actually spawn anything in your replicated storage that you want to spawn. So you can see that we can spawn it again, just like that, and it will wait after the timer. I can't actually spawn it again until the timer's up, so there you have it. So if this video did actually help you, please make sure to like and subscribe. If you have any comments or concerns, please make sure to leave them in the comment section below. If you need any help with your code, please feel free to join the Discord or make a comment. Whatever you want to do, it's usually easier if you just join the Discord, then we actually have dedicated channels that people can help you do it, including myself. And I will be including the code for this tutorial in that Discord server as well. So links in the description, make sure you go join it. Make sure you join our Roblox group as well to get a cool role in the Discord server. Anyways, that's all from me. I will see you all later.